Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I know there's some people that mentioned their surprise because they've always known me as Dennis, and then they're hearing people refer to me as O'Neill, and it's like, what is going on? Who is this guy? It's an impersonation. My name is O'Neill Dennis. Apparently two Irish surnames. So every time I introduce myself to somebody, they end up turning it back around and calling me Dennis. And then I'm in PR and marketing, so you understand the power of an icebreaker. So here I am 10 years later saying the same thing. So thank you so much to CBC for having me today. I'm going to whiz through a few things. That's just some. I get bored very easily, so there's a number of activities that we end up getting involved in. Step Forward, the main website, a multimedia organization that was set up in 2014. We have Step Forward Awards, which we do as well, which actually has become the one of the bigger Christian and Gospel Awards in the UK. It's kind of like a Dove meets Stella Awards, Gospel and CCM all merged into one. We have the UK Christian Chart, which I'll speak about a little bit more. We have Impact Conference, which is like a music and media conference that we started, Poetic World Tour. So we ended up in the organization that put on the biggest poetry and spoken word event in the United Kingdom ever. So 1,400 people showing up for a poetry event is significant, with the likes of Jackie Hill Perry and others. We do dance as well. I used to break dance, believe it or not. Demonstration will come at some point in the future. Right? Christmas Live is another activity that we initiated. And then the Paradox, which again, I'll be speaking more about it at some point in time. And then we have just some stats for you to see some of the work that we've been doing. We've been around for 12 years, and as you can see, the impact is pretty significant. That number in regards to the artist database has now gone over 700 British Christian and Gospel artists. I'll speak more about that later on. Over 1 million people impacted through our website, and quite a number of volunteers, that some of whom are with us today as well. And our mission and our vision is there as well. The UK Christian Chart started in 2014. And when we started, it was one big melting pot. And then the pandemic came, and all of a sudden, we were seeing a lot more music, 3 to 4 times as much music coming through. And we had to diversify. We had to break that down because it was just too much to process. And we ended up creating 12 different categories or subgenres, if you will. And as God would have it, it was the right thing to do, because all of a sudden, all those subgenres were getting individual support. Little did we know that would have allowed us to get into this. And looking back at it now, I realize God's hand at work throughout it all, right? Because we had to diversify and broaden, but allow for more depth. And that depth has allowed us to be recognized alongside the official charts company. There is no higher accolade in the United Kingdom for music than being listed amongst the official charts company. So our partnership was launched in this very room, actually, thanks to Premier and the team. It was launched on the 6th of March. So just, last month or the month before? So we are actually 10 weeks into this chart. And when you move from doing a chart system on a monthly basis to then doing it weekly, and by the time you release the charts, you're in the countdown for the next one. Yeah, I haven't gotten to grips with that yet. All right, but the chart system is going really, really well. The official charts guys are pretty pleased with the work that we have been doing. So we're really grateful for that. And that leads me on to just in thinking over today, I just wanted to, I'm very biased. A little bit, godly bias. So that statement there, creative arts is the new battleground for the minds of our people. I might have a debate with Justin at some point in time because I feel like I should. But when you consider in the beginning, Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created. So creativity is the first thing we learn about God. It's not just about what he did, it is actually who he is. So how important when you translate that into my world, which is the creative arts, you can understand my sentiment. Creative arts is the new battleground for the minds of our people. And when you consider, as we've been hearing about the reports, and pause the reports for a little bit, actually the reality on the ground, because I think everybody knew that, irrespective of whatever transpired thereafter, we realize that we're in a very significant time period. Should we be surprised that the fight intensifies now, when music and media often reach people before doctrine does? Before doctrine does, music and media reach people. How significant is that? So I thought I'd highlight a few front lines, if you will. Music, media, arts, and culture. Who will shape the imagination of the next generation? And that's why things like this are so important to us, because having a strong presence in all of those things should not just be wise strategy, but a kingdom building responsibility for all of us, and how significant that is. I thought I'd throw in a few stats because I'm a little bit of a nerd or a geek or whatever the correct terminology is. I like facts and figures. Show me a spreadsheet, I'm happy. Show me a spreadsheet with colors in it, and I'm the happiest person. So just some stats for you. Over the past decade, the UK has seen a 64% rise in demand for faith-based music. So since 2015, this is actually fact. And this is coming from the official charts company. Another piece of stat for you. According to Spotify, streams of gospel music in the UK have risen by 119% since 2020. And, just hearing from all the presenters since morning, which has been a really fascinating day. When we launched the official charts, I said to somebody this morning, I've had more BBC interviews in the last 2 months than I've had in 10 years. There's something significant happening now.
Right.
And we've been talking about something happening. Now is the time. So when we launched the chart, we had a BBC interview and they did a complete write-up, BBC News beat. And TikTok revealed to them, because they were researching for this write-up, TikTok revealed to them that posts using the hashtag gospel music, Christian music, globally over the past year had doubled from 2 million to 4 million. These are the current stats, ladies and gentlemen. So Christian music, media, arts, and culture. And interestingly enough, when I was thinking about this presentation, I'm like, actually, let me change that because I want to be careful with respecting the room and just hearing and observing the strength and the foundation that we stand on. It's not that we never had a voice. There's always been a voice. And we've seen that through the work from CBC, Premier, and all the other amazing organizations. What we lacked, perhaps in my humble opinion, was a bit more visibility. And that's what we're seeing happening now. What we need now with this greater voice, stronger voice, and even more visibility is better alignment. And forgive me as well, I'm only 12 years in, so I'm still a baby. Right? So a lot of what has gone on before, I'm still catching up. I'm still learning, which is why I'm so excited to be here today. But greater alignment will certainly allow us to do greater things together. That's why it was so significant when I was just asked to help with this project, because all of a sudden I had to do my research again and just researching and as you've seen since morning, the wealth of talent, intervention, and work that has gone into the last 40 years, which was so many more years before I came on board. You have to recognize it. And I see some amazing people in this room who have interacted and engaged with over time. So CBC and this revival, for me, is significant because it's the first I'm coming across it in my 12 years. So having to research and seeing the depth of history is pretty significant. And I want to commend the organizers and the organization for the work that you're doing, the work that you have done, and the work that you'll continue to do, because I think this is one of the pillars that we needed, that I wanted to see from 12 years ago. Another spotlight from me is the Elevate conference, which happened recently. And that was significant. And I see Juliet Fletcher, a legend as well, who's in the room, and she was there as well, and recognized just the importance of that. That's Christian Music Alliance and the Gospel Music Industry Alliance. Two different organizations, shared vision, shared purpose, and therefore alignment. And what they did recently was pretty significant, pretty historic. Both these organizations coming together for the betterment of the Christian and gospel music industry in the UK. And I learned from the Americans that if you don't shout about yourself, why should anybody else? Right? So the official charts, in my humble opinion, when you consider that this has never been done before. Yes, we had a chart from 2012, which again, some really significant people helped to pull together, but that was an albums chart. And because we're in, as I say, a singles economy where music is concerned, so having a singles chart here and now is the right time for the right moment. Mm-hmm. So this, for me, is another significant way to build forward. A lot of us who work in the space recognize from just people that we have experienced on our shores, that we have never had a problem with talent. The UK has never had a problem. We go back from Delirious, from before that, Graham, we have never had a problem with talent. The access and the infrastructure were the things that needed a little bit more work. So this kingdom mindset will not just grow on isolated success stories. And I share this at the conference as well, because I think it's important, again, from somebody who is still learning about the space, the significance. I remember my own journey in terms of the access and the infrastructure, or lack of it thereof, was the biggest impediment to the work that we were doing. So 12 years in, I can look back, and I'm trying to also be that bridge for the younger generation, or for a generation who has an interest in these areas, because I don't want them to make the same mistakes. And actually, in this time, because I believe the time is now, I don't think they should have to run the same route that I did. Right. So this is pretty important for me as well. And I was blitzing through this, and I thought I'd just literally land on just 3 simple things in terms of takeaways that I want us to be mindful of. My heart's desire is to see us continue to move from awareness, because as I said, as with some of you, might be hearing about some of the things here for the first time. But what does this awareness trigger? What then? What next? So if we can move from awareness to action, understanding that this thing that we've been praying for is happening here and now. Therefore, action is what is required of us right now. As I mentioned before, individual success stories, as great as they are, will not move us as much as we need to be moved. So therefore, it's about alignment. It's about standing with each other, irrespective sometimes of the personal situations. We have to have that bigger vision. We have to understand the move of God that is happening and really sow into that. It is so much bigger than just our organizations, just our projects, just our intentions. That shared infrastructure, that shared mechanism is what is going to allow us to be representative, as we heard, here and now, with a voice that resonates, that not just follows the society, but actually leads the society. And I'd love to see us position ourselves from local thinking to national and global positioning. I've never had as many US individuals calling me as I've had in the last 2 months. There is something exciting that's happening. And if you remember from back in the days, the strength of the UK spread worship, in my humble opinion, globally. Yeah, we had that. God deposited that in us. Can we see that move again? When you see things like the Jesus March coming up on the 23rd of this month from 39 years ago, you understand that there is something happening that we didn't start. We are a part of. What part will you play? My bias is music. All in, all day. And I want us to understand the strength of music. There is not a church in here that doesn't utilize this creative art form. That's right. There are people out there who are constantly utilizing the power of creative music, arts, media, and culture. Can you help us to do even more? Can you stand with us to ensure that the word, the message, especially the message, continues to be shared and continues to resonate? Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for me. Thank you so much.